Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Fabio Wardley has claimed the British heavyweight title and remained unbeaten in the process, stopping Nathan Gorman inside 3 rounds, and this was on the Franklin and White undercard. So this was a very fun-filled fight. Nathan Gorman actually gave Fabio Wardley a few things to overcome in this fight, but ultimately he couldn't handle the power of Fabio Wardley's right hand, which was the weapon of choice and did the most damage, and saw Gorman on the canvas 3 times. But he didn't have it all his own way. Gorman actually started the stronger of the two. Good first round. He was beating Fabio Wardley for the most part to the punch, and he was starting to land a right uppercut and a left hook, counter left hook as well. Very solid first round, and you sort of thought, okay, this could be very competitive. Fabio Wardley, what's he going to do here? And David Haye actually said this was the first real fight of Wardley's career. So that doesn't really say much about the matchmaking or the quality of his prior opposition, but you had Wardley under pressure in a wild round 2. Gorman seemingly hurt Fabio Wardley, cut him on the bridge in the nose, had him seemingly wobbled, but Wardley responded in kind and actually just turned the tables. Ultimately, trading with Nathan Gorman, back and forth action, very good, fun stuff, and he drops him with the right hand. And Nathan Gorman, similar to the Daniel Dubois fight, looked like he was worse for the wear, and actually very lucky to get out of that round. He was down again from another right hand later in the round, and round 3, really it was a continuation. The legs weren't under Nathan Gorman, and you sort of thought, okay, if Fabio Wardley can just put it on him here, he's going to get him out of there. But ultimately, he didn't have to worry after the third knockdown. Maybe 10 or 15 seconds later, something like that, you had the towel come in from the corner. Nathan Gorman, not happy, but it really did sort of save him from a bit more punishment, because it looked inevitable that he was going to either get knocked down or at least knocked down again, take a bit more punishment. So Fabio Wardley, tested for the first time in his career, had some adversity that he had to respond to, didn't have it all his own way. Nathan Gorman, strong first round, and obviously buzzed Fabio Wardley early in the second. Ultimately didn't matter. Good building fight for Fabio Wardley. I mean, I think we have to say there's been a lot of questions about Wardley. You know, he's got all the athletic talents, seems to have good power, and we saw that on display again. But was it all just manufactured in the sense of the opponents, the matchmaking? And even David Haye sort of referred to that this was the first proper test of his career. Gorman, though, was someone who gave him some resistance, but it wasn't enough. So Fabio Wardley passes the test. And I guess the question is, well, one, for Gorman, where's he going? We'll talk about that in a moment. And for Wardley, what next? Because the past couple of years, they have slowed down his development. They've tried to obviously backfill some of the inexperience by getting him a lot of rounds in the gym, work with a lot of guys, and actually sort of put together a bit more experience in the sort of gym setting as opposed to in ring. And he had said in a Twitter space, it must have been about 18 months ago, that he didn't want to move too quickly or past a certain level too soon, because you can't go back. And very true. And I think this is a well-timed fight with Gorman. Heading into this one, there were questions about, I mean, obviously Wardley was the favourite, but Gorman is no knockover job. And he did give Wardley a good test in some respects. And Wardley passes that test. Clearly the power is real. And I think at a higher level, it's probably going to translate well. But, you know, he was getting caught quite a bit, the defense a little bit leaky, so there are things to work on. And one of the things that Fabio Wardley sometimes does, throws a punch and seems to admire his work. Got caught a couple of times with counters from doing that. But overall, you know, there was a sense of urgency, especially after he got hit and hit a couple of times. He really sort of woke up and responded well. So a good win for Fabio Wardley, and potential maybe fringe European type fights that he could have. There's a number of guys, I think, on that sort of European scene that you could match him with. Or maybe they will go for someone a little bit more well-known. There's a number of different sort of gatekeepers and journeymen that are floating around that you can probably think of. Some of those guys, like a Carlos Takam. him, like a Marius Vuk? Is he ready for those sorts of guys? They're the sort of that level where guys are like, okay, well, we'll throw him in, name recognition, take the credit, move on. You could see that. But someone like a Carlos Takam, still a very tough fight. Is Fabio Wardley ready for that? I think he would beat Marius Vuk at this point and probably look pretty good for the most part. Likely to go rounds, and at this stage, he needs rounds. He needs durable opponents that can actually take him some rounds. So, yeah, interesting times for Fabio Wardley in the what next. For Gorman, I think this kind of solidifies that maybe British level is his lot. He's had a couple of decent British level fights in his career so far. This one, the one against Daniel Dubois, and he's come up short. Not only has he come up short, he's been dropped multiple times in both fights. And I guess there is a question about the durability. How good is Nathan Gorman's chin? Obviously, he's fought a couple of guys who are considered punchers. But yeah, I mean, I guess the jury is out. But given what he's done, and he didn't disgrace himself in this fight, but he has been stopped and dropped multiple times now. Is this sort of his ceiling? Can he sort of get to that fringe European level? I'm not sure he's really sort of cleared British level at this point. Sure, he's knocked over a lot of European bin men, but those guys are just fodder and padding a record. And I think inactivity has probably hurt him. Maybe some of the quality of his recent opposition in the past year or two hasn't been great. You could argue maybe he was underdone, but this was an opportunity. It was a sort of crossroads fight. Not quite a loser leaves town, but I do think that his direction and arc in the heavyweight division is going to be capped at a certain level. So I think he can be a guy that can give other, up-and-coming names a good test. And I'm not saying that he has to just become a gatekeeper now, but that certainly is a route that could be pursued, because at this stage, it's kind of hard to sort of build him past a certain level. I think that's just a reality. Where do you see Gorman going? Do you think that the drive will be there to continue? He's fallen short twice at the British level. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.